Hello friends, this is Jim with Science Talk. I have a report on climate change impacts on Alaska, where I live. And as most of you, I'm sure, are aware of, uh, climate change effects are most dramatic, most pronounced in the Arctic region, definitely occurring disproportionately there. And in a lot of ways, Alaska has kind of become like the canary in the coal mine here for studies. So, in a new study published in Global Change Biology, and this is looking at Alaska, and they looked at, what are some of the changes going on in Alaska. So they concluded that 67,000 square miles of land in Alaska, 13% of the total land, have been affected over the past 3 decades. That's a conservative estimate. It's probably much more. The land has been impacted by what the study calls directional change. That means a location has experienced fundamental change in its ecology from historic levels or what has been the typical situation. Some areas might have become greener and wetter, others have dried out as glaciers shrink and wildfires burn across the state. Trees have shifted. We have tree lines moving further north to adjust to a warming Arctic. And I'll be touching upon the whole litany of what's going on here in Alaska. So to study these changes, U.S. Geological Survey, scientists from this organization, use satellite and aerial imagery integrated with field data to basically create a mapping algorithm that assesses the level of change throughout the state. The study analyzed 540,000 square miles of land, noting the various changes in different Alaskan ecosystems. We go from the temperate rainforest down in the panhandle up to Arctic tundra, basically. Near the tundra, as an example, the environment is becoming greener as trees and other plants typically are moving north from further north from where they typically would be found. Interior forests are drying out, resulting in increased, more intense wildfires. So they're drying out, they're losing the moisture, that leaves them vulnerable to burning. And the researchers conclude that this aspect right here, the interior forest drying out, is the greatest factor in Alaska's ecological change. Co-author Bruce Wiley said, "What impressed me was how extensive and influential the fires were. Historic water patterns have been disrupted. Thawing permafrost has led to depressions, allowing wetlands to form in unusual locations. We have also, the thawing permafrost has led to ground slumpage. For example, many of the roads and houses, especially in interior Alaska where the permafrost is found, were built on the assumption that the ground would stay permanently frozen. Well, now it's thawing out, and now we're seeing buckling and sinking of the roads and the houses. Now imagine if a house you're living in starts sinking. Now you have structural issues that need to be addressed. So there's an economical cost to what's going on as well. We also have increased erosion along the coast. We don't have the sea ice forming. It forms later, it melts earlier, it's not as thick. It used to be that was a buffer from whatever storms. It protected the coastline. Well, if you have ice, first of all, you're trapped. You're not going to get that moisture out of the ocean, so it actually calms things down. You're not going to get precipitation, winds, and weather events of storms and heavy precipitation. You're not going to get that. The sea ice will protect things. And basically, where land and ice started and ended was pretty much it just kind of segued one into the other. Really didn't know where one ended and the other began. Now with the sea ice forming later, not as thick, or melting earlier, there's no protection for the coast. You get storms and waves beating the crap out of the coastline, to be blunt. And there's been results that several villages have had to relocate. And there's a current one village in the northwest part of the state that may have to relocate. So, the comprehensive study of these varied changes may be helpful as scientists and policymakers plan for Alaska's future. So NASA carbon cycle scientist Peter Griffith basically said, now with this study, we have spatially explicit interpretations of the changes on the land with specific drivers identified and attributed to the changes. Let me, some of the things we touched upon here, let me give you some other changes I've noted in my very long time I've been living here. I've already mentioned what's going on with the sea ice. I alluded to the fact that the trees are moving. In general speaking, the flora is moving north. So where it might have been shrub vegetation, trees are moving in. Where there might have been Arctic vegetation, shrubs are moving in. So the flora is moving further and further north, and that is displacing, say, tundra vegetation. And of course, when the flora moves north, the fauna follows with it. So we're seeing a northward migration of the flora and fauna. That, of course, changes the ecosystem. So we're seeing that. One consequence of this is the spruce beetles. Spruce beetles historically have been problematic in the Anchorage Bowl area. Anchorage is basically right by the coast. And the climate there is mild, and spruce beetles can persist year long. It used to be in interior Alaska that the winters were severely cold enough that the spruce beetles could not survive. So spruce beetle infestation of the trees was not a problem. Well, now it is. Spruce beetles have spread north, and they're now affecting the trees here. The larvae can survive the winters because it does not get severely cold. So the severe cold does not kill the larvae. So with that going on, this is now presenting a problem to the trees and affecting the trees. Now that leads me to what's going on with the temperatures. Now you've heard me in other videos mention that things are definitely warming here in Alaska. I just did a video where I basically talked about observational evidence for climate change. Here at my house, over the past 5 winters, not including the current winter, we just had a nice dumping of snow, and the indications are for not a severe El Nino, but an El Nino nonetheless, which usually for Alaska means a warmer but wetter winter. Anyway, I digress. The past 5 winters, I have recorded a total of 23 days where temperatures reach 40 below or colder at my house. 17 of those days was from 5 winters ago. There has been absolutely no days for the past 2 winters where temperatures reach 40 below or colder. 0. The coldest it got last winter was 36 below at my house. And I live in a low-lying area which is colder. Not like I'm up on a hill or anything like that, where due to inversions, hills are warmer here in Fairbanks. Nope, I'm in a low-lying valley. And the coldest I got last winter was 36 below. 0 days for the last 2 winters of 40 below or worse. It used to be that you get that Siberian high that slides over the state, sets up shop over interior Alaska and the Yukon, and you've got weeks of 50 below or colder. And there's not much you can do except wait for that high pressure system to erode and break down. Probably be replaced by another high pressure system. Only in Alaska do we go, yay, it warmed up to 35 below, and then everyone runs to town and does their errands. Only in Alaska, right? But seriously, the days of these long, extended, prolonged cold snaps are just not happening anymore. And it's good for the heating bill, but seriously, from on a climate change perspective, it is not good. Because now we're going to change weather patterns. We're going to, the Arctic Ocean stays open. That changes precipitation, you get storms, and so on. And now an active hypothesis that's being studied is changes in the Gulf Stream. Excuse me, not the Gulf Stream, the jet stream. Gulf Stream is something else I've discussed numerous times. But the changes in the jet stream and how the changes in the jet stream with the polar vortex and stuff like that, instead of the jet stream being tight around upper latitude, it's now wavering and it dips down south and to lower mid-level latitudes, bringing some colder air. So when people say, oh guys, it's cold outside, it can't be global warming, well, this is one of the manifestations of climate change due to global warming. Now, the jet streams are no longer in a tight flow at upper latitudes, but it's now more meandering and dipping down and so forth. And of course, the permafrost is thawing out, and with that comes the release of methane and other greenhouse gases. I did a video some time ago on permafrost, describing what it is, the different types of permafrost. Please check out that video for that information. So I wanted to bring you that report about what's going on here in Alaska. That there's basically the take-home message is that there's huge changes to the land that's changing the ecosystem, and it's an extremely dynamical, ongoing situation. And this does have ramifications and implications for not just Alaska, but for the circumpolar region in general. So thank you for your time, and we'll talk soon. Hello folks, this is Jim asking for your help. I want to grow this channel significantly. I want to increase the number of people who subscribe to my channel. I want to increase the number of people who are supporting patrons on Patreon for this channel. Patreon.com/Science Talk with Jim Massa. I do not receive funding of any sort from anyone. So the information I share with you is the information as found published in the peer-reviewed journals. No propaganda, no BS, just the science, and of course I give you my interpretations and analyses based on my experience as a scientist. So please tell others of the work I do here, tell others of my channel. Share my videos, post them on other social media platforms. But we need to disseminate this information to more and more people, to a wider audience. And I need your help in doing that. For those of you who are already patrons and support me on Patreon, thank you. Thank you for your support and continued support. Together we can do this. So you'll find details in the description box below how to support me on Patreon. And thank you. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your continued support. It does mean a lot to me. We can do this.